the Dodgers are going to sell in 10 years, right? Like, you should sell the team before you have to pay someone $680 million.
That's what David Sampson did with the Marlins. They did that with Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, they traded Stanton.
I know, but the way that they sold the team with the understanding
they technically didn't trade him, but yeah.
They'd never have to get to pay the brunt of that contract. They'd be able to trade it. It was the move. They increased the value of their franchise out of nowhere. People were wondering, why would the Marlins, a notoriously cheap franchise, give Giancarlo Stanton that much money? And it's because you increase the value of your franchise so that you can sell it down the road and you don't actually have to pay the money. They can afford this stuff with their regional television contract. They've got the biggest one in the sport. It's the biggest advantage in the sport to be able to have more money than everyone else and just pay other players because your made-for-TV product makes more money than everyone else.
Is this player worth it? Seriously, is he worth $700 million? I'm not certain any player is worth $700 million, but Dan, I'm going to say it, he's overrated. Shohei Ohtani is overrated. He has had one 100 RBI season. One. He has never taken his team to the playoffs. The next playoff game he plays will be his first playoff game of his career. He can't pitch next year. $700 million seems like a lot of money for a guy who's 29 years old and had one 100 RBI season and couldn't make it to the playoffs with Mike Trout. He's overrated.
You could have ended that sentence many words earlier by just simply saying $700 million is a lot of money, period.
I was rolling.
That no one is worth. Probably in sports or outside of sports because it's such an enormous amount of money. But if any player in baseball were worth that amount of money, this would be the one.
I'm not so certain.
Okay, you cannot be so certain. You're using terrible stats. Like, it's not just that you're not using the advanced stats.
You want the OPS? You want some of that? Because he's been over 900, I think, twice in his career, 1,000 once. That was last year. That was his best year of his career at the age of 29. Every other year, it's been like 800, 850, 848. I mean, he's overrated.
It's a hard act to follow. But
Billy, let me try it this way, okay? Before the contract, he wasn't overrated. But now that you attach $700 million to Shohei Ohtani, overrated.
Correct.
Thank you.
I love how you're holding the 95 RBIs the last two seasons against him.
Get 100.
It's an interesting game where you figure out how do you manage to hit 45 home runs and only have 95 RBIs. It's because of the Angels.
That's
but
correct.
It seems impossible.
It does seem hard, but also though I believe that I'm inching towards Stugotz's side, where if Ohtani had just gotten me to the helpful round number of 100 there instead of 95.
Right.
I'd be willing to cast aside all my other more informed baseball knowledge and just say, yeah, I'm more comfortable with the nice fat round number of give me an extra zero in there so I can make him not overrated.
But by deferring all the money, it's perfect because now he's not overrated until 10 years from now because he's only making $2 million next year. So actually, he's the best value player in baseball.
You do have to wonder, though, like, this is going to be a second Tommy John surgery. Like, how good is he going to be when he comes back as a pitcher?
Right. He'll never pitch again.
Yeah.
I don't believe he will.
You
They'll
think
concentrate on his bat.
They paid him $70 million to get 95 RBIs a year?
Well, maybe he'll get an extra 5 and everybody will be happy.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Jeremy, please put on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show, is Ohtani overrated? And just put a bunch of zeros as the O in overrated on the front end of that. Jeremy, I'd like to do a top 5 list with you. Just find as fast as you can on the internet over here, and I'll come to you in a couple of seconds. The silliest payments in baseball. Just find for me a bunch of them and put together a top 5 and let me know. You're a high achiever. It's kind of annoying. You are a theater kid, a performer. You are somebody who moves very fast. So just scour the entirety of the internet and give me a top 5 list on all silly payments. But Stugotz, I don't know if he's going to pitch. It's actually a reasonable concern because one of the reasons that he's Babe Ruth in the modern form, the only reason he's Babe Ruth in the modern form, is because he does both things. and he does both things in a way that have value and is stupefying. I would never call such an athletic feat under any circumstance overrated. To be great at those two things in that sport, he is properly rated. You cannot rate that highly enough. There is no player like him anywhere in the sport, and you have to go back 100 years when Babe Ruth was playing against people who had second jobs as plumbers to find anything like this.
I understand that. He was 10-3 last year, had a 3.14 ERA, basically a 3 ERA for his career, Dan. But if he can't pitch, that's problematic. Like that is. Like you're signing him to that deal because you're hoping he can both, he can both hit and he can pitch. And if he can't do one of those two things, I question whether or not he's worth $700 million. I'm telling you, the contract has everything to do with it. Like when you attach that amount of money to someone, suddenly they look overrated in your eyes.
But you are someone who knows sports enough to know that this is not your money.
Right.
And so the Dodgers don't actually have to spend their money wisely. They just have to get stars and keep the buzz around, and it doesn't matter how they get the stars. They need to get their programming. Stugotz, don't think of this as, well, is he going to be someone who helps them win a title? That's the reason they're trying to get him.
Sure.
But the functioning of the business that allows for the contract, hey, get me an LA star. LA loves stars. We need stars. The Dodgers have failed. The Braves are better. The Braves are younger. We took Freddie Freeman, and we're still not good enough because the Braves are going to be here for a while. How do we fix this? Get another television star.
Right.
That he's a baseball star is also nice, but get me in Hollywood someone who feels big, who's going to put more people in my ballpark. These aren't even, you can say they're baseball moves, but if we're talking about it, we're not talking about the baseball parts of this. We're talking about this because of the money parts of this and as a business move. This is the Dodgers going Hollywood. We're going to, all of it is. It's also the tracking of him on airplanes where it's like, wait a minute, baseball never feels like this. This is an investment you spend in order for your television program to be a nightly thing that has a star in the middle of it.
It feels a bit unfair, though, right? Like the Dodgers, the rich get richer. I understand what you're saying. It's good for the team. It's good for TV contracts. It's good for the fans in L.A. I understand that. It's great for Ohtani, right? He's got $770 million. But it just seems, I don't know. It seems like people are upset because the rich are getting rich. It feels like the Yankees, Dan. Back in the day when they were spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year, it's like, man, how many stars do you need? Let's spread the wealth a little bit. But there's an expectation with the Dodgers when a big free agent comes up, they have to be in the game and probably get that guy. And they got him.
Well, that's why the contract is somewhat annoying if you're a baseball fan, because it's the rich getting richer at $2 million a year. So now the money that they were going to commit, they now can commit to yet another star that they can get, where in any other case, it's like, well, you only have enough money for so many stars. But if you're paying him $2 million, now you can go get someone else on top of him.
I'm surprised the Players Union allowed this kind of a deferral of that much, of such a high percentage of that contract, because that could become a trend that essentially allows you to ridiculously back-end the contract. That's what the Marlins did to a much lesser degree with Giancarlo Stanton when it was back-ended, and the Marlins knew that he was going to be traded long before the end of that contract. But this is taking it to an extreme degree. You can do it, obviously, but I think the Players Union is going to stop deferrals like this moving forward.
I feel bad for Bobby Bonilla. Because 10 years from now, we're going to start celebrating Ohtani Day, and it's just going to, $68 million.
Lord willing. I mean, he's got a lot more faith in it than I do. I would love to celebrate Ohtani Day. I'll take that right now.
Just getting there?
Oh,
just
yeah.
Earth getting there?
Dude, I'm trying to get past next November.
I legitimately have never had the thought, ever, in the history of contracts given, it has never occurred to me, the idea of having to consider, well, is the economy, not just baseball's economy, is money going to be the same thing 10 years from now if we're all fighting, if all the countries are fighting over money and we're destroying the earth because oil makes money and all of that money is coming to sports?
I think Mike is wondering whether or not we're going to be here, period, as a planet.
Understood.
Yeah.
And before that, though, the economy will collapse but that's in the way these steps work, Stugotz. It's economy falls first, then Earth, not Earth. Earth collapses, and then there's one person at a bank saying, "Where'd the economy go?"
What's Earth without money?
Surviving. I know your entire Earth is money.